Hello, Vanshika.
Hello.
Please tell me something about yourself.
Well, I am Vanchika Singh. I'm from Faridabad. I've been living there for the past 18 years. Currently, I'm in my second year of the International Baccalaureate Diploma program. As a part of the program, I have to study six subjects. So, on a higher level, I'm studying English, language and literature, global politics, and
Before
psychology.
we go more into that,
Yeah?
you're from Faridabad, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what's the name of the person after whom Faridabad has been named?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure of it, but I'll make
Okay.
sure to look it up.
Okay,
It'll
sure,
be
sure. No
interesting.
worries, no worries.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You were telling me about your school and subjects.
Yeah, so on a higher level, I'm studying psychology, global politics, and English language and literature. And on a standard level, I have maths, biology, and Hindi.
So this is not CBSE board.
It's not CBSE.
That is IB board.
Yeah, IB, International Baccalaureate.
Okay. When was it introduced in India?
In India, it's been there for the while, I think around the 90s.
Okay.
So it started in a school in Pune only,
Hmm.
UWC Mahindra.
Okay,
So yeah.
great. So how is it different from CBSE board? Like, have you like also studied under CBSE
Yeah,
board
yeah, yeah.
before?
Till grade 10, I was studying in CBSE board, and after that, I made the switch. So I believe IB gives us a more well-rounded approach. It has other sections also, like core sections, which is the extended essay, where we have to write a 4,000 word essay on any topic that we choose, as well as creativity, activity, and service. So these are all essential parts of the program. So it just does not focus on one aspect or one subject and gives us
Okay.
a more well-rounded approach.
Okay. So, would you say you as an IB board student would have any advantage or a disadvantage in comparison to any CBSE student? So, tell me
I
one advantage and tell me one disadvantage.
I'd say an advantage would for sure be that IB is more research based. So I am already used to writing papers, citations, which is some things which are introduced during college in India specifically. But I am already very used to it. And as well as not having
So, are
textbooks.
you clear about what citations are and what kind of footnotes one is supposed to use?
To some extent, I'm
Okay.
obviously still learning it as I write my essays and my
Have
internals.
you heard of the terms IBID, Supra?
Not yet.
No,
I'm
okay, no worries,
sorry.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
asking you
for sure.
generally.
Yeah, so that, and I think one disadvantage would be is that studying, obviously, at times you have to stick to the books, and that is something I personally am not very used to now. I'm more used to going through my research on the internet and finding sources. So
Okay.
at times when you have to stick to a certain like certain instructions or certain knowledge, that becomes a bit difficult.
Acha, so you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I have a great affinity for any forms of art and media. So although I'm not really that into creating, but I love watching movies, reading books, even graphic novels at times, and listening to music.
So any recent movie you watched?
There's this movie called Submarine.
Okay.
So I think it would be interesting if you know of the band Arctic Monkeys. So
Yeah,
it's a
I
really
know.
popular band, and the lead singer Alex Turner, he does not work alone. He
Okay.
obviously is a part of a band, but he created all the scores and the music for the movie Submarine,
Okay.
and it revolves around a teenager exploring himself and the world around him from a very innocent perspective. So
And
as
any
yeah.
recent book that you've read?
Recent book. I recently read Crime and Punishment by.
Any famous book that you have read that you probably think even I might have read or I might have heard about it?
Um, I have to think about it. I mean, I believe Crime and Punishment is quite
Okay.
popular.
Okay.
Other than that, you might know of Persepolis.
Okay.
It's a
No.
graphic novel.
Okay. So, ठीक है, no worries. So, so I see that you are interested into, you are quite as in you love reading because reading is one of
Definitely.
the most
I've been,
essential parts of being a lawyer.
yeah.
And why do you want to pursue law?
I think I want to pursue law that all the hobbies I told you about, they have given me a great skill set, but I have never been interested in them to the point where I want to pursue them. They're a great part of me, but I think out of when obviously as a teenager I was exploring what career options I want to go for, law is the one I resonated with the most. Both my parents are doctors, so for the longest time I was dead set that I want to be a doctor as well. But then when I approached grade 10th, I realized, although I do like the sciences, I'm still studying biology, but it's just my love for the sciences is not great enough for me to want to pursue it. But then ever since I was young, I always had a very strong sense of justice. And then growing up, although I did not see much into being a part of the justice system as an option, but now, obviously, as I grew up, I realized that this is something I could pursue, being a part of the system itself, which sounds great.
So there's one word you've used quite a lot of times during this interview. So you said that both your parents were doctors.
Yeah.
And you talked about exploring, right? You talked about that movie in which that child was probably exploring. Do you feel you're in a fortunate position of of getting a chance to explore?
Yeah, definitely. I do.
And do you think, because what I can say is there are so many people who don't get that opportunity. So I also feel I think this word exploring is, it's a fascinating term, but a lot of people don't really understand that, it's a privilege
Definitely.
more than a word, more than an option. So it's a privilege. I come from that mindset that yes, it's a privilege.
It
So,
is.
so what's your opinion about that?
I do believe that I do come from a
And
very,
if you did not have that privilege, what you would have been doing?
I do believe I come from a pretty privileged background, yes,
Okay.
for sure. And that's why I am very careful with, even when I explore into anything, I'm very mindful about it. I do not want to waste even my parents' money or take away opportunities from people who do deserve it just
Okay.
because I'm in that mindset of exploring.
Okay.
That's why I'm really big on reflection. But if I did not have this privilege, I'm sure, like, I'm confident enough that I might have still continued maybe studying the sciences.
So when you talked about that you want to pursue law, so you're quite interested in pursuing law, right?
Yes, definitely.
Can you tell me names of three of the biggest lawyers that India has produced
Three of the biggest
in terms
lawyers.
of the most famous lawyers and or any three really famous big lawyers that you can think of?
I don't think I would be aware of that
Why?
as of
You haven't heard
now.
of the name Mahatma Gandhi?
I mean, yeah, of course.
Haven't you heard of the name Jawaharlal Nehru?
I have.
So after independent India, who probably do you think, or currently if we talk about, there's this one lawyer who's also one of the biggest lawyers in India, and he also has a license in the UK, and he at times represents people in the UK. So what's the name of that lawyer?
Shashi Tharoor?
No, no.
No,
Have you heard of this person called Harish Salve?
no, I'm sorry.
Okay, so he was a CA and then he became a lawyer. And if we talk about independent India, who's been uh, I think the most famous lawyer, if we talk about, have you heard of this name called Nani Palkhiwala?
Yes, 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 for
Have you
sure.
heard of this name called Ram Jethmalani
Yes.
and Falius Nariman?
I've heard these names.
Okay, can you tell me which case Falius Nariman was involved in, which involves absolute and strict liability? It's a very major case and it took place in 1984 in Madhya Pradesh.
1980.
Have you
I'm
heard of
not
the
aware.
Bhopal Gas Tragedy case?
Yes.
So Falian Nariman was the lawyer who was defending Union Carbide. Union Carbide was the company which owned that.
Gas plant.
Yes,
Sure.
and he was defending that. Okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah, I'll be sure to read up about it later.
Sure, sure. So
Yeah.
since you are thinking of exploring law as a career option, you should at least know who are probably the biggest
Yeah.
lawyers in the country or have been the biggest
Yeah.
lawyers.
I'll make sure I work upon my
And
legal
I think
knowledge as
everybody
well.
knows the name of Mahatma Gandhi, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that did not
No
come up
worries,
in
no
my
worries.
head. Of
So,
course.
how much did you score in your Symbiosis entrance test?
A 39.
39, okay. We also have students here who scored 46, 45, 44. Why should we select you in comparison to those students?
Because I believe, although the test is quite well rounded, but it is more based on academics. And when we give a test, it
So you're
also,
trying to say there are flaws in our test?
no, like I said, it is quite well rounded.
Okay.
And as an academic test, it's
Okay.
great. But when it comes down to any academic test, be it the SATs or the CLAT exam, everyone has good days and bad days.
Okay, yeah.
So it could be possible that maybe I wasn't in the right mindset at the time. So it cannot be the only way to measure that. And that's why we're having this interview. Because I believe even the Symbiosis faculty, everyone knows that that isn't the only way we can determine. And I'm sure that the skill set I have, being a good orator, I can think on my feet really well. And overall, I think uh, specifically during this time, adaptability is the greatest skill one can have, seeing that because of technology, times are changing so quick. Rather than just subject specific knowledge, adaptability is of great use, which is a skill I've had for a very long time.
Okay, great answer. So my question is, you must have read something, as in you must have come across certain laws, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any favorite subject of law? So, any favorite subjects of law?
I think the specific part which I would personally find the most interesting is IPR, intellectual property
Okay.
law, intellectual
So, can
property
you tell me
rights,
a difference between trademarks and copyrights?
trademarks, and copyrights. I'm not very well aware
Since you
of.
said it's your favorite
I
subject of
think
law.
I find it the most interesting
Okay.
because that is very different from what my perception of law was for the longest time. Because for me, it was always courts and lawyers and judges. But in the past 1 or 2 years, I've gotten to know more about things like that Wipro exists and intellectual property laws. And to me, that is more
You said
interesting.
Wipro exists?
World Intellectual Property Research Organization.
Okay. It's not Wipro, it's Wipo.
WIPO, I'm so
Okay. No
sorry.
worries, no worries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me one strength of you as a person and one weakness of you as a person.
I think great strength of mine is that, like I said, adaptability, but not just in situations where I'm put in, but I'm usually open to doing anything. If I am in a situation where it requires me to sing, I'll sing. If it requires me to dance, I'll do it. I am not very embarrassed of trying out new things, which is a great strength, I believe, not being embarrassed of things. And I'm ready to like take opportunities first, which is I personally think great.
Okay, fine. Uh, what all do you know about symbiosis?
What all?
Have you done any research? Because I'm sure you were willing to get into this college, and that is why you're giving this interview. So, what all do you know about it?
As per the aspect of specifically about the college, I would say not much. My research was mostly about asking around people, the students here, that how is the environment? Because obviously, like Symbiosis is a very well known name. So I did not really question much, but I got to know that the law school has been here since 1977,
Okay.
which to me is quite fascinating because it holds a great history. And I bet there are so many alumni who, for whom the college has worked out really well. So that history really fascinates me, which I'm sure I would love to know more about.
So you have. So that's it from my side. You want to ask any questions? You have any questions from us?
Not right now.
ओके ग्रेट यार मेरे को तो बहुत अच्छा लगा आपका
Thank
इंटरव्यू
you.
मैंने आई थिंक ये नहीं रहने दो आई थिंक मैंने जेन्युइनली ट्राई किया आपको इधर उधर थोड़ा फंसाने का और कॉम्प्लिकेटेड क्वेश्चंस पूछने का तो उस मामले में इट वाज गुड एंड बहुत बढ़िया आंसर्स दिए एंड थोड़ा सा लॉ के सब्जेक्ट्स के बारे में
I
थोड़ा सा
think,
वो
हाँ.
कर लो